For the first time in the history of the Met Gala, the lead sponsor was not a fashion house, not a luxury brand, not a film studio or a record label, or any of the cultural institutions that have traditionally funded fashion's biggest night. It was Jeff Bezos. Him and his wife Lauren Sanchez reportedly put in around $10 million to sponsor the whole thing, and then Amazon, Meta, OpenAI, and Snapchat all bought tables at $350,000 each. The event raised 42 million in total, which was a record. And outside on the streets of the New York, Amazon warehouse workers and the Whole Foods employees and Uber drivers organized a counter event they called the Ball Without Billionaires, and this is the whole picture. But fashion's most culturally loaded evening, which has historically been about the relationship between art and clothing and celebrity and identity, was essentially headlined by the same industry that is currently automating creative work, surveilling its warehouse employees, and building AI systems that generate content without paying the humans whose work trained them. And there is a name for what is happening here, and it is called taste washing. Cultural critique Kyle Cheka coined the term, and what it describes is when technology companies deliberately use aesthetics and cultural alignment to put a softer, more palatable layer over what they are actually doing. And what they are actually doing is a lot. Mass layoffs happening at these companies while their stock prices set records, and privacy practices that most users generally do not understand the scale of, and the systematic automation of creative labor, writing, illustration, music, coding, the work that actual human beings build careers around. And these are the real ongoing activities of Silicon Valley in 2026. But instead of sitting with any of that and instead of being accountable for any of it, the people running these companies started showing up to fashion weeks, started wearing board shirts and Prada, and started sponsoring the Met Gala, and started opening pop up shops and releasing limited edition merchandise designed to make them seem like they're a part of the creative world, the world which they are actually disrupting. And this is the part that annoys me, because see, like, AI is not human. Like, whatever these companies are building is not humanized. It does not have taste or genuine feeling or creative instinct, and it processes patterns from the human work and produces outputs, and this is what it does. But the entire branding strategy of Silicon Valley right now is built around making you feel like it is somehow connected to the human things. Like, the people building it are cultured and interesting and aesthetically aware, and therefore, what they are building carries those qualities inside it. That is the move, that is the whole trick. When Zuckerberg goes from 10 years of identical grey hoodies to suddenly sitting front row at Prada, the message is not just about clothes. The message is, I am a person of taste and discernment, and I understand beauty. I care about human things. And therefore, Meta and the AI Meta is building is also somehow connected to those human qualities, which is ridiculous. When Bezos puts 10 million into the Met Gala, he is not just buying a table, he is buying association, proximity to art and fashion and culture and creativity, so that Amazon, the company where workers had to fight for the right to take bathroom breaks, can start to feel like something more nuanced and acceptable than what it actually is. Greg Brockman from OpenAI publicly declared that taste is a new core skill for the AI era, which is a fascinating thing to announce. But because, like, what he is really saying is that people building AI need to be perceived as the ultimate arbiters of human quality, the ones who decide what is good and what is not, the curators of what machines should make, and rebranding the people replacing human creative work as the guardians of human creative standards. The Palantir example is honestly one of the most ridiculous one because of how it is. Like, Palantir is a defense technology company. Like, they build data analytics, tools used by the government and military organizations, and that is the actual business. And they released a $239 core code, which is a garment that comes directly from working class labor history, from people who do physical work. And Palantir took this specific visual language and put design a price tag on it so that a surveillance tech company could seem artisanal and grounded and somehow connected to the ordinary working people. One critic described this as technofascism in a designer package. And it is not really an exaggeration when you think about what they actually do and what they were trying to visually communicate with a $200 workwear jacket. And then Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, the AI that a lot of people now use daily and which has become a lot popular, opened what they called zero slop zone pop-up shops and handed out thinking caps and lattes. The whole positioning was like we care about quality and human discernment, and we are against the low quality AI generated content flooding the internet, which is interesting position for an AI company to take publicly. There is something almost impressive about the confidence of an AI company branding itself around the exact human qualities that AI is currently putting pressure on, like a fast fashion brand opening a pop shop and explaining the importance of buying less. And the aesthetic is working really hard to cover the contradiction sitting right underneath it. Here is what makes this whole thing worth paying attention to. Beyond just being annoyed about it, like we are living through a moment where the relationship between technology and culture is changing faster than most people can process, and the people driving that change figured out that they have a serious perception problem. It is genuinely difficult to sell a future built by people who feel cold and disconnected and purely motivated by scale and efficiency. And it is much easier when those people seem like they have taste, like they go to art shows and understand beauty and care about the human things. So they bought proximity to those things, literally, like with tens of millions of dollars of sponsorships and front row seats and carefully designed merchandise that borrows the visual language of subcultures and working class history and counterculture nostalgia. And the fashion world let them in because the money was real, even when the interest was strategic. The 2026 Met Gala raised a record $42 million, dollars, a significant jump from the year before, with tech money driving that record. Now I want you to be careful here and pay attention to what I'm saying. Like having taste is real and caring about aesthetics is real, but there is a meaningful difference between someone who developed an actual aesthetic sensibility over years of general engagement and someone who hired a stylist or a cultural consultant at a very specific moment when looking cultured became strategically necessary. One of those is taste, and the other way is a costume that happens to be very well made. And the reason it matters is not just about calling out billionaires for having calculated wardrobes, it matters because it is a really clean example of how aesthetics get weaponized, how the visual language of creativity and culture and humanity can be deployed to make something feel like something it is not. Which, if you are a creative person who cares about fashion as actual self expression rather than signaling, is worth understanding, because if taste can be purchased and deployed at scale by companies covering up things that are genuinely worth scrutinizing, then the conversation we all are having about authenticity and personal taste and finding your own aesthetics becomes even more important. The answer to taste washing is not caring less about how things look, it is developing such a specific and personal and genuinely internal relationship with your own taste that it cannot be manufactured by a PR team or bought with a Met Gala sponsorship. So the next time you see a tech founder at a fashion week or a Silicon Valley company like dropping a lifestyle product or an AI startup hosting a pop-up event about human quality, just pause for 1 second and ask yourself like what they are selling, then ask what they are not talking about, because in 2026 the outfit is never just an outfit, and knowing how to read that is honestly one of the most useful things you can do.